Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about inflammatory hair loss. So, if you're experiencing alopecia areata, any type of scaring alopecia, and even intelligent effluvium, inflammatory type of effluvium, intelligent effluvium, this show is for you. So, stick around because it's going to get crazy over here. And welcome, guys. Welcome to the Hair Wire, the place where you, my friends, get hair smart. I'm your host, Sergio Cardona, alongside with Sound Dipsy. And today it's kind of in a regular show today.
It's like
we're in different places that we're supposed to be here. But hey, we're here, and a Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you guys are celebrating during this uh, season. So during these holiday seasons, so as long as you guys are with your families, friends, and enjoying yourselves, and if you are among the few who are still doing last minute Christmas shoppings,
so please, audience, ask Sergi why he is in a car. Please, Sergi, can you let us know why you're in the car right now?
yeah, I was hijacked by my wife and by my mother-in-law. So I was tricked into getting him into the shopping mall today. I'm like, okay. So I had to do the show in the car. So
That's what women do. Here you go.
yeah, that happens. That happens.
We rule the world, Sergio. We rule the world.
Oh yes, you do. Oh yes, you do, guys. That's definitely, definitely. But today we're going to be talking about inflammatory type of hair loss and what is inflammation, what it does to the body, and particularly how it affects our hair growth cycle. And this is going to be awesome. So, Biz, I want to start with you. Bill, you've been our research expert, our functional medicine expert. Let's talk about what is inflammation and why it. You see this a lot in just about every segment and every discussion, and when it comes to wellness, the importance of dealing with inflammation in the body. Why has it become such a trend, this, and why is it so important to talk about inflammation?
That's very right. It's very important to talk about inflammation because inflammation is our new pandemic. It's this era pandemic in a way. And inflammation by itself, like just to define what's inflammation, is a very general term where the chemical imbalances inside your body is hijacked. They are hijacked by toxins, hijacked by chronic diseases. It's just your body has been hijacked by external factors. And that's why we say it is the pandemic or the epidemic of this era, because this era after the agricultural revolution, what happens is our food is not as natural as it should be or it was before. Our soil is depleted from nutrients and the good chemical phytochemicals that we need as human being to thrive. The toxins around us, EMFs, the 5G towers, all these things, all the epigenetic factors, means all the lifestyle factors that has been changed over time around us. It is influencing the chemical reactions inside our body in different ways. In ways, sometimes the scientists actually, this is a new chemical reaction that we are not familiar with, and we are studying it like day by day. It's going fast and fast. So going back to the original definition of inflammation, is just an umbrella word telling us that the chemical imbalance in your body has been hijacked. That's why, for example, inflammation, or we call it systematic inflammation, goes head to toe. If, for example, you have like insulin resistance, let's talk about metabolic disorders. If you have insulin resistance and your insulin will spike up and down throughout the day, eventually it will catch up to you and it will cause systematic inflammation in your body, hijacking all the chemical balances in your body. This is one example. A second example, if you have gut problems where you are bloated or you're not digesting your food properly, Also, like these, the foods that you're eating, eventually they got fermented inside your body, and when they're fermented inside your body, eventually will become toxins. Your body will see these nutrients as toxins, and this is causes inflammation. Inflammation is when your whole, the cytokines or the some of the proteins inside your body, they stay elevated the whole day, rather than they got elevated only when we have injuries. So the difference between inflammation and chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is we need it when you got you have an injury, you got cut your hand. You need all these white cells to come over there and repair that part, right? That's called acute inflammation, and we need it to survive. However, what we don't need is that state of acute inflammation to stay for a long period of time inside your body. Your body is trying to repair itself on a, like, every second, every minute of the day without any rest. This is when chronic inflammation happen. This is when your body got hijacked by whatever causing it, chemicals, toxins, food intolerances, gut issues, everything. That's what's called chronic inflammation. And this state of chronic inflammation, first thing it will do, actually, it will disturb the hair follicle cycle, the follicle hair growth cycle, the growth cycle of the follicle. It will start
Mhm.
disturbing it. And one cycle after the other, one cycle and after the other, it exaggerate the androgenetic alopecia if you have it. It will cause telogen effluvium. It will exaggerate and expedite scarring alopecia. It will cause alopecia areata. And all we started it with chronic inflammation. So
Wow.
that's why it's very, very important. Chronic inflammation, or inflammation, is this huge word. We need to understand it, where it's coming from, address it. Otherwise, whatever you do to your hair is not going to work, because the systematic inflammation has not been addressed.
Yes. And the thing is particularly that, if we are not addressing the underlying issues, unfortunately, what we're going to be seeing is the excessive shedding and the subsequent shedding events. Because one of the things that people sometimes do not understand is that, all right, so today I have an inflammatory event due to, let's say, I ate something that I shouldn't, or maybe I have a medication, right? So my body's fighting it, I'm developing inflammation, whatever, right? So later on, I start seeing the shedding, and once my shedding starts to get better, then I start to see another event. And because I had another inflammation, but I just treated my first inflammation, I had to treat my second one as well. Yes. And it becomes an ongoing situation, unfortunately, for a lot of people, because of how our immune system is working, and sometimes it's being bombarded with so many things at the same time, and sometimes we go from one inflammation cycle to the next, to the next, to the next, and that leaves us with a ongoing hair loss, ongoing hair shedding events, which becomes detrimental to the way our hair looks, because it starts to look thinner. It starts to look like, we have sparse hair. We see through our scalp, and that becomes very worrisome for everyone who is experiencing hair loss. And we start wondering, what should we do? What can we do? And first thing first is that anyone who's suffering from hair loss, you guys need to understand that you need to know what is happening. Need to know. And to know what's happening to you, the only thing that you're going to be able to do that is through a proper evaluation. Now, I'm not saying this is the only way that you will ever know, but consider this. Consider that if you're experiencing hair loss and you want to do it for yourself, right? You want to be your own specialist. You want to treat it by yourself. You want to do it at home. You're doing yourself first type of situation. All right. But let me tell you something, guys. If you want to do it yourself, you will need to learn. You will need to study. And how long will it take for you to figure it out and learn about your body? Because every time you start learning something new, oh, I have this. Oh, I just learned this. Oh, I have that. Oh, my guys, girls, everyone,
Yep.
know this. You need expert advice. All right. You need expert advice. And I know that, sometimes money can be tight, but sometimes you have to make an exception. Sometimes you need to open up yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to do this for my family because, and I say this with the bottom of my heart because unfortunately, I see many husbands, they come to my office because of their wives, because their wives are losing their hair. And they'll be like, I do not know what to do with my wife. I cannot help her. I want to help her. But, she cries on the bathroom every time that she washes her hair. And the situation becomes worrisome for the whole family, you know, because if one member of the family is not doing right, then the whole family is not doing right. And this is something that we don't talk about much, but it becomes a family matter. So
Yep.
we need to understand what is happening, and the only way we're going to be doing that is through professional help. So if you're watching this show, know that the Hair Wire is a place where you can find three of the best trichologists around, and we can help you. We can help you. Bisan, myself, and Carrie. She's going to jump in at any time of the show, hopefully. I know that things are getting cold over there in Canada, so but hopefully she'll be joining in very soon. But the thing is, we need to understand what is happening now. This now that we understand, that the importance of dealing with inflammation. How is it that inflammation affects us in terms of hair loss? Why do we see that?
So inflammation, the big word I was trying to explain before, it's actually, if you look under the microscope, under your body function, it's actually a chemical imbalance. So the chemical reactions inside our body start to be disturbed by this chronic inflammation state. So there's more cytokines are being induced in our bloodstream. Even the particles in our bloodstream started to become toxins to our body, so creating an immune response. Even though we don't have an autoimmune disease, we can develop an immune response because of this chronic inflammation. Our body will start seeing every single thing, even an apple. You're eating a very healthy food, it starts seeing as a toxin. Any like That's why anxiety come where anxiety come from. You will be like dealing with your job normally, and since the systematic inflammation is messing up with your chemical reactions in your brain, in your gut, everywhere, you start not handling any stressful moments at all and creating anxiety, for example. So any chemical imbalance that happens, it just can lead to any kind of um, like uh, like like I don't want to say a disease, but it's an imbalance. So that directly affect the cycle, the hair cycle, the hair follicle. Instead of we having a normal anagen, long anagen phase, which is the growth phase, then we have the telogen phase and the catagen phase, the cycles of the hair. The chemical imbalance starts to shorten the anagen phase. So instead of your hair follicle giving us a healthy hair, this healthy hair start to become thinner and thinner and thinner by time, because the anagen phase, instead of staying in your body on average for 5 years on your scalp, it starts to shorten by time. And the telogen phase, instead of being it like very short turnover, it start to become very long turnover. So your shed will be more in number, and your shed will be more long, like in period time, rather than the growth phase. It should be the other way around. So this change in the chemical imbalance between anagen and telogen, this is exactly the definition of telogen effluvium, where you have more shed
Exactly.
days than growth days. And this is where become telogen effluvium. And chronic telogen effluvium, if that disturbance in the chemical reaction in the hair cycle become longer and longer and longer. When it become way too long, it will be harder and harder to survive, to make these hairs survive back. If you catch this at early stages, that this disturbance and the chemical reaction at early stages, you can actually reverse it quicker. But the more accumulation we have, and as you said, Sergio, in the beginning, chronic inflammation is not only one cycle of inflammation, it's one after the other, different triggers, different, then we will lose how many triggers we have, and then it will be harder and harder by time. That's why, preventative measures are way better than actually the treatment. And to address one of the questions here, which is exactly to my point, she is saying that she stopped taking Claudia. She said that stopped taking birth controls. She lost her eyebrows, her eyelashes, and then when she stopped taking the birth controls pills, my eyebrows shed a little bit. So basically, it decreased when it stopped the birth controls. And her question is, when her hormone balance will settle, will the hair come back? This is exactly to my point. Yes. So let me digest her question. So when she took the
Hmm.
birth control pills, what happened is it messes up with the systematic chemical balance in her body, right? So not
Hmm.
everybody can handle birth controls properly. This one lady can handle it, the other lady cannot handle it. Why? Because the background of our body is different. The genetic makeup of our bodies are different. I can handle birth control in my 20s. I couldn't handle them on my 30s. Why? Because in my 20s I didn't have as much systematic inflammation as I have in my 30s. You have to know that systematic inflammation is like a barrel. You keep loading it, loading it, loading it until your
Yeah.
body can't handle it anymore. So when we took our birth control in our 20s and everything was great, and in our 30s it start to mess up with us because we have other factors like toxins, like chemicals in the food, like stressful events, like, so our bottle is full, and then you take a birth control on top of that, it's going to break you. It's not necessarily the birth control itself that made it alone, Sergio. No, it's
Hmm.
actually was the barrel was full, and when you put the birth control on top of it, it's like boom, everything else will fall apart. You know what I'm saying?
I like that concept that you just brought in. Where our system becomes overwhelmed
Hmm.
and starts triggering a cascade of events. For instance, and I want to bring in alopecia areata, because again, this is one of those events where we see our system being bombarded. Our immune system just cannot hold it any longer. And it is one of those inflammatory types of hair loss that we get to see a lot. And if you have experienced this, my friend Jashira Ortiz, she was a patient of mine because of alopecia areata, and she's a student now, and she's an amazing artist. And I remember, when we started working with her, because of her alopecia, the inflammation that was involved in it. Now, I want to circle back to the idea of being overwhelmed in terms of our immune system and how it creates this inflammatory event that leads to alopecia areata. Now, on your going back to you, Biz, you have treated many times alopecia areata patients. Uh, what are some of the things that you get to see the most, or maybe what are some of the things that are more common with this type of patients?
Right.
In the whatever the age group, whether they're male or female, what are the most common characteristics or things that we see, traits that we see with alopecia areata?
With alopecia areata is exactly a very good example of the barrel is full. So basically,
Yeah.
when I treated a little girl, she's 3 years old. She woke up the next morning of Halloween with her hair like going out in clumps. Patches started to appear overnight. And her mom thought that it is all the sugar that she ate the night before on Halloween, because this is exactly happened right after Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And when she came to me and she's like, she ate all these candies and look at her hair, she lost all her hair right now. So I sat down, I said, sugar is a very, very high inflammatory agent in our body. That is correct. But it wasn't the sugar itself. It's not overtime thing.
Yeah.
So the sugar itself, the very high sugar amount that she ate the night before, of course, increases her insulin, made a lot of systematic inflammation in her body. That is all correct. But alone is not going to cause an episode of very severe alopecia areata where she lost most of her hair.
Hmm.
And she's 3 years old. Means that her body is very resilient. If that happened to a 40, 50 years old lady, I would have my suspicions, because by that time our barrel is full in a way, right? So I told the mom, let's go backwards and see what happened before that Halloween night. So we went into the functional trichology timeline. That's what I like to call it, functional trichology timeline. Gonna
I
go
love
back,
it.
see where the trigger is from. I know that barrel
Hmm.
is been struck on Halloween night. Okay, what happened before that? Goes back 6 months before. She told me that before October, it was March when this girl had food poisoning, E. coli food poisoning, and
Oh.
they took her to the emergency room, and the emergency room they gave her all the necessary treatments for food poisoning, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so think about it. She took a lot of 3 or 4 injections in the ER to control the food poisoning event, right? Which they should. That's how it should be. It stayed in her body. All the chemicals and preservatives in these injections, where are they going to go? They stay in their body, right? The E. coli, when they're all dead, nobody thought to bind them and excrete them normally from her body. They stayed there. So, as if you
Mm.
have fermented dead E. coli in your body doing nothing, just staying there. No, but the body cannot excrete them. So, the body thinks these are enemies, these are toxins, these are like these are attacking
Pathogens
me,
that need to be, yeah.
right? I cannot get rid of them. So what are these? I'll start attacking them, but the body cannot get rid of them. So for six
Yeah.
months, she got a very high chronic inflammatory response to these preservatives, chemicals, whatever that in her body. Her liver couldn't take it anymore. Her liver is very overwhelmed at that point. Halloween night came in. She ate all this sugar. Her body collapsed.
The
This is one, a chronic
perfect
inflammation.
bomb. Yeah.
Exactly. Woke up in the morning, her body couldn't handle all this attacks. I call it attacks on your chemical balance, attack on your chemical integrity. Her body couldn't do anything. It started releasing all these hair follicles as a response. This is where alopecia areata came from.
And and considering that alopecia areata is not telogen effluvium, it's actually anagen effluvium, still follows the same mechanism, only that it attacks in a part of this hair cycle
Even
different.
worse. It's
So
even worse.
exactly,
It's worse because the anagen numbers in our hair are actually at any given point is more than the telogen number in our hair at any given point. So going back and circling back exactly to my point to Claudia here, when she stopped the birth control, everything will come back to normal when the attacks on your body will just calm down. And her question is, when your hormone settles, your hair will come back? Yes, if you address all the insults on your body. And addressing all the insults in your body is not only birth control, it's not only the sugar in the Halloween night. No, you have to go back and see what are all the insults that happened before going to that episode of huge shedding. Then you will address it and slow it down even.
exactly. I love this. I love this, Biz, because makes us aware of the many circumstances that I mean, for instance, that little girl, she was treated at an ER. So
They
most
have to.
parents, most of us will be like, "That's gone.
Right.
That's
It's
done
not.
deal. I finished with that. I don't need to revisit it. I don't need to go back again at it because I just finished it." And we forget. I mean, maybe we're not aware more than we forget. We're not aware of the fact that because I kill a bacteria and I need to flush it out,
Right,
so that
right,
my body
right.
will not be burdened with holding it in our system. Now, I want to jump into another type of inflammatory type of hair loss. Let's talk about, for instance, scarring alopecia. Scarring alopecia is one of those types of alopecia that becomes so evil. And we start with alopecia areata, and we see how emotionally stressful this type of alopecia is. But fortunately, unlike scarring alopecias with alopecia areata, you still have a chance to get your hair back because your follicles are not dead. But with scarring alopecia, we see the same, um, how we say, the same aggressiveness in terms of hair loss, but with the aggravant factor of having scarring. Those follicles become cicatricial, having scarring alopecia. Now, there's a lot of studies in this area, and there's a lot of information that we are seeing, that we are being able to collect, that we're able to gather. And although the information might be contradictory in terms of whether scarring alopecia can be reversed or not, um, what's your take on this? Because we need to consider, there are many things going on someone who is experiencing a type of scarring alopecia. And for instance, we're talking about lichen planopilaris, we're talking about frontal fibrosing alopecia, we're talking about central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, we're talking about Brock's alopecia. We're talking about many types of alopecia that they kind of look the same, but
Yeah,
they're different,
right,
and the type of treatment is different at the end of the day.
right.
What can you tell us about this situation with scarring alopecias?
So scarring alopecia, actually, it is one of the most difficult alopecias to bring back to life,
Yeah.
because for two reasons basically. Like when we talk about telogen effluvium or alopecia areata, they are very scary to live through, because
Yeah.
they are very intense. The loss of hair in front of your eyes is so intense, but they are actually the easiest to treat, the
Yeah.
easiest to reverse if caught early enough. However, when we come to scarring alopecia, if we wait way too long, that scarring, the word scarring, as you said, Sergio, the word scarring means that the follicle has been dead, right? So when we
Yeah.
come to a chronic inflammatory state over the years, what happened, these follicles, we call them the viable follicles, that each follicle will give you a strand of hair or two or three. They become weaker and weaker and weaker by time until they die. So this could be 5 years span, could be 10 years, could be 20 years. So when we talk about scarring alopecia, there's two kinds of scarring alopecia. One is calcified scarring alopecia, and one is non-calcified scarring alopecia. And I
Mm,
learned that from our friend Nadia. I hope she is watching us right now. When scarring,
interesting.
when scarring alopecia happens, you can see the death of the hair strands. However, it's not 100% death of the hair follicle. So when we use our scope as a trichologist, we scope an area that is smooth, right? Smooth
You're right.
areas, that means in our heads, the hair follicles are gone. However, it's not true
Hmm.
100%. Some of these, in the smooth areas, when you do the scope, you can actually count how many viable follicles and how many non-viable follicles. Viable follicles, where the sebaceous glands are still attached to the hair follicle from inside. Uh, Thank you, Nadia. You taught me that. The hair follicles are still viable. The sebaceous glands are still secreting the sebum, and there's the mitosis still going on. The mitosis means the cell division inside the follicle still going on. These particular viable follicles can actually be reversed, even though, Sergio, it has been 20 years past with this particular client scarring alopecia. These follicles, you can quantify them, and this is called non-calcified scarring alopecia. Means the scalp itself did not calcify yet. Means there's still blood vessels there. There's sebaceous glands there. There's still mitosis going on, producing or can produce hair follicles if you treat it and activate it and stimulate it the proper way. You cannot overwhelm
Let
these
me let me hold you for there in a second, because when you're talking about doing it the proper way, we're talking about a time sensitive event. Is this right?
it is not only a time sensitive event. It's actually, you can revive. We saw with Nadia, we saw that she could revive. I also had a this lady with secretional alopecia. We could revive her viable hair follicles even 5 to 20 years after the incident, because they're still available. They're the mystosis, the cell division, it's still there. It's just the proper way to open the channels from outside the scalp, opening it. Like, for example, most of the scarring alopecia, and Nadia will talk about it more than me, most of the scarring alopecia over time, because it has been way too long, they will create a biofilm over it, where a bacteria colony stays over these hair follicles, not allowing them to grow. That means they are still there, but they don't have the proper pathway to grow, the proper pathway to allow the hair follicle or the hair strand to grow. So when you take properly, not everything, it has to be uh, a proper procedure to it, with the proper solutions, with a proper treatment plan, to take this biofilm away, to let this viable follicle breathe, to let the hair strand have a chance to grow. These viable hair follicles, Serge, you believe it or not, and I did it myself, you can revive the scarring alopecia even 20 years after the client is having a scarring alopecia.
Wow.
It
Wow.
can happen.
That is amazing.
It
That is
has to be
amazing.
properly done. Not like you cannot go and scratch people's scalps. Like, no, it has to be properly done. First of all, you study the scalp, see the areas where are calcified and the areas where are not calcified. You study where the
Hmm.
biofilm is going. Here we have a colony
Yeah.
of bacteria that I can take properly without scratching the scalp itself, without compromising the health of the hair follicle itself. It's just you have to do it properly over stages too, with the proper solutions for the proper kind of scalp. Don't forget, sebum is still there. We have to maintain the pH of the
Yeah.
sebum too. So all these balances, you can do it properly and slowly, gradually, until these viable hair follicles can breathe, can have the proper um, channels of blood flow, proper channels of detoxification, proper sebum balance, they will come back. Not 100%, because on scarring alopecia, not all
Yeah.
of them.
Once the follicle is dead, it's dead. But if it's
Exactly.
intermediate, if it's
Right.
in the process of getting
Right.
there but not there yet, you can still
Have
revive
it.
the. And
So
that is amazing.
then when your client comes to you, surgeon, in your scope, you can tell the client, I can revive 20% of these hairs. I can revive 80% of these hairs. You will
Yeah.
know upfront.
That is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I love, and I respect Nadia a lot, because I know in our community we see, and I mean, we have a lot of scholars, and we understand that once a follicle is dead, there's nothing to be done about it.
Right.
Yet we have
That
seen
was that was everybody thought that, but that's not true anymore.
exactly. Exactly. That's the thing, because I have seen Nadia's work for years, and I'm just amazed by the results. And something that I expressed to her many times before. Yes, love the picture. Is that you cannot um, you know you cannot exaggerate results. The truth is in the results. If you are seeing results, then there's something that we have been not understanding properly about what we have thought of scarring alopecias. Yet we see some cases in which, yes, those follicles are ultimately dead, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Well, that's it. All right, at least you tried. At least you did the best so far to treat it, and that's it. But the fact that there's people who haven't had the chance to at
Yes.
least try something different,
Mhm.
a new approach. And this is groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking for a lot of people because, unfortunately, again, um, our biggest scientists still believe that with scarring alopecia, there's nothing to be done more
Yes.
than just to contain what we have, because of the type of inflammatory situation where if you can slow it down and you can stop it, then at least you are able to keep some of the hair, right? Because that's what we have been trained to do, to at least keep the hair that we have, not to make it worse, right?
Right.
And we have been very successful at that. But regaining the hair from scarring alopecias, is something that, whenever you talk about it, people look at you are like,
Yes.
you're crazy. That's not possible, because by definition, scarring alopecia means that the follicle is dead, and if the
By
follicle is dead,
definition.
means that the space that the follicle was belonged before, it was has become filled with other substances, uh, and in that sense, there's no way that you're gonna be able to regain a follicle, proper follicle from there, and to get it flowing and to get it into, to the rhythm, to the groove, and to a cycle where that hair will grow back again, right?
Right. Let me
So it,
just
it
add one
becomes
thing to let me add to your point here, Sergio.
sure,
That what you're saying is that the secretional alopecia is by definition, right? It's like you're done, you go home, there's nothing we can do for you,
yeah,
right? Right. So
exactly,
that's why back, circling back to your opening statement, go see a professional. This lady,
exactly,
this client of mine, she went to other professionals, dermatology clinics, and they looked at her, and by definition, sorry, it's scarring alopecia, go home. Nobody thought to scope, the use the dermascope, which is the
yeah,
microscope that you can see the scalp, you can see in details the scalp, its magnification lens to see what's happening in the scalp. If that
hmm,
dermatologist look or scoped, if he had the time to scope her scalp, he will see that there's viable follicles, then he will think that maybe I can revive these follicles. But first of all, dermatologists they don't have the time to do that, or they don't have the expertise, unfortunately, to do that. That's why trichologists do. We, in as professional people, the first thing we do when we see a client, what do we do, Sergio? We look at their hair, we examine their scalp. When she
yeah,
came to me and she said, the dermatologist said, done, I'm done. I said, okay, let me see.
yeah.
You can see, you can quantify. Okay, you got 20%, 30%, 40% of your follicles are still alive. We can do something about it. Do you want to do something about it? She's like, even one hair follicle, do something about it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so
because it is hopeful. It
right,
is hope. It's
right,
hope in a place where there was none. And again, um, it is. And by the way, folks, this is something that has become like a new trend, a new way of thinking about how we address scarring alopecias. Because again, for the longest, many trichologists still this day do not believe that a scarring alopecia can be reversed. All right. And the thing is that over the years, as I have treated scarring alopecias, before I knew Nadia, before I knew about her work, one of the things that I saw was that in some cases, in some instances, I would start seeing regrowth in areas where there weren't supposed to be any growth. And I remember telling my patients back then, if you see new growth in this area, that's okay, but do not rejoice too much about it, because that's all you're gonna get. You're not gonna get any more of it. And yet, I was seeing some regrowth. I'm like, okay, how do I explain this?
exactly.
How do I
Because
explain
we
this?
didn't learn
You know
this, right?
exactly, and and because it didn't make sense.
It didn't make
So,
sense.
and the thing is that there's a lot of things that we still aren't able to properly explained today. And the reason for it is very simple. We're still dealing with um, old information
Yeah.
and new information as it is arriving. We are not updating our books, and the scientific community has been slow to accept some of this information, and mainly and particularly because the people who have been making this discovery do not hold a PhD. And
Right.
that's a lot of bias in there, for not saying the other BS word.
Yes, yes. Our world
Because
is going upward.
unfortunately,
Yeah, go ahead, Sergio.
no, the thing is, um, there's new information, guys, and we are seeing new discoveries, and we are seeing, that the old ways of thinking about how to treat this type of situations, um, it has crumbled down,
Right.
and there's new pathways. There's new pathways to treat even these severe cases. Now,
Mhm.
does it mean that on all severe cases of
No.
cicatricial alopecia we're gonna get the hair back? Of course not. But we're saying that there's still hope. There's still some chance, even if a slim chance to get some of that hair back. At least it's something that was not there before, and that's the beauty of it. And this is why staying connected here with the hair wire, staying connected with leaders in the industry that are doing groundbreaking work, that are doing something different, that are getting results, is so important. So to all of my professional neighbors, to all of my colleagues, right now, if if you want to learn about this, you need to stay connected to the hair wire. We're gonna have a future events and seminars for you guys to give you, to expose you to this information, and to the people who are doing this stuff and doing it right. So just want to point that out
Yes, yes.
in the last few minutes of our show, because we have only a couple minutes left. But hey, I want to put that out to all of our professionals and to our doctors in the industry who love trichology, who are more open to this new type of information. Stay tuned, stay connected. That's what I have to say.
And as always, like, let me add for the last few minutes, I want to say to everybody who's watching us, thank you for watching us week after week. And myself, Sergio, and Kerry, we always try to bring what's new in our industry. We are trichologists by profession, and also we are scientists, and we keep learning, and we keep opening our horizons. And as Sergio was saying, 10 years ago, we thought scarring alopecia is untreatable, but now with a lot of research, with help with the colleagues in the profession like Nadia, she taught us how to reverse scarring alopecia in some of the cases. So we here at the Hair Wire, we're bringing you all this information in front of you. If you or a loved one has a scarring alopecia case or something, we three of us, we have virtual consultations. We offer virtual consultations, and we always on the top of our industry. We're all bringing you new things here, and we want you to ask us questions, to challenge us. Let us get you the answers that you need, because I believe that hair growth is very possible, and the way we are going, we're heading towards the future. It's actually very, very brilliant. We trichologists are gonna change the phase where, oh, hair loss is untreatable disease. It's not a disease, it's a symptom for something else that we collectively can solve.
Yes, love that,
Like that, I
love that.
preached. My friend Sergio is teaching me how to preach. I love that.
We'll get you to preaching school very soon.
So one of our
Now,
friends is asking, sorry, tips about removing
yes,
calcification. That is a
yes, I
very,
was about to mention that.
very, very long treatment plan. It depends on what kind of calcification it is. And this, it unfortunately cannot happen virtually. I need to see you in person to actually know what's going on, remove the biofilm, do it like in clinic. These cases, some of the cases cannot happen virtually, and there is no one thing that remove calcification. It depends on when it started, what kind of it, what kind of calcification you have, and what kind of alopecia you have, what kind of internal cause you have. That's why our job is not one answer. We don't have one treatment plan. We sit down and study all
Yeah.
the factors to come up with a treatment plan, how to remove your calcification. There's no answer for that. There's no one answer for that. One of the answers could be remove the biofilm. That's all. But how? It's a big, big story. Did I say it
Now,
right?
and for our, yes, to the general public, this because they want to know what they can do in terms of inflammation. So, what are some of the things that they can do at home, and how can they?
Oh, I think Sergio is gone, but I can answer his question since we're still live. To address inflammation is first of all, and the easiest and the cheapest way to do is to eat anti-inflammatory diet. Anti-inflammatory diet, which is the Mediterranean diet. I'm from the Middle East, and I'm a big fan of olive oil and salmon and olives and all the anti-inflammatory. Foods that are available to us. So first of all, I think all of us, we should be on anti-inflammatory diet no matter what. No worries, Sergio. I got you. All of us, we should be on anti-inflammatory diet no matter what, even though we don't have inflammation going on, only because the inflammatory how do you say, the attacks or insults around us are a lot, coming from our phones, coming from our computers, coming from the toxins in our food and the toxins in the air everywhere. So being
Yeah.
prepared, dealing with your body, making your body strong enough to be resilient to these attacks is a key. So anti-inflammatory diet, no matter what, you have hair loss or not, just be on an anti-inflammatory diet. Drink a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, not cheated olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, everything every day in the morning.
Yeah.
Good for your skin, it's good for your hair, it's good for your ligaments. It's the highest the polyphenols in the olive oil, the better. The polyphenols are the ones that in the olive oil that are having the anti-inflammatory properties actually. But please make sure it is extra virgin olive oil, because otherwise it's going to
If
actually
it, if it's Italian or Spaniard, even better.
yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes. I'm married to an Italian family, so they have a lot of good olive oil. Yay! They put olive oil in their coffee.
But by the way, a lot of Arabic food also has a lot of olive oil.
Yes. In Palestine, actually, it's and where I'm originally from. Our symbol is an olive oil branch. The olive oil branch
Yeah.
is a symbol of peace and love and health. So I
Yes.
come from this land that is the holy land that carries the olive oil as a symbol of love and peace. So yes, that's something very dear to me. And I married an Italian, so go figure. Olive oil is made up of olive oil.
Double whammy olive oil in the family.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
No, but I have to say, a food rich in olive oil is amazing. And when you start eating this type of Mediterranean type of a diet, I mean, I have to say, every time I travel to Italy, my stomach just feels so much better instantly. It's incredible. It's
So remember
incredible.
when we went to
Um,
Italy, we were there in June, Sergio, right?
yeah, yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
God, the olive oil, it was.
my stomach was having it.
Oh, I know, I know. Oh my God, oh my God, oh
That
my
was
God.
something. Anyhow, guys, we have to leave. We want to thank you for tuning in today. God bless you all. Have a merry, beautiful Christmas, Hanukkah, holidays, whatever you guys are celebrating. But have a great family time. And thank you, Biz, for another wonderful year here at the Hair Wire. Hopefully, we'll see you next Monday. We are switching our shows to Monday and around 11, no, around 1 o'clock Eastern time. So stay tuned, guys. We're making some changes, but hopefully, we'll see you next week. All right. Biz, anything you want to add before we go?
I want to say eat spend and Roy, eat an anti-inflammatory diet. That's all what I can do, what I can say very quickly in a way.
Yeah.
And I want to tell all the audience, thank you for tuning in for the second year in a row. Next year will be our third year, and we're bringing a lot
Yes.
of changes, a lot of things, and we are very grateful for all of you guys. I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from the Hairwire family to your family.
Amen. Amen. See you guys next week. Till then, God bless you all. Bye bye.